Hey folks, David here. Update on Tomb Runners today and roll the dice games. Got my pup here with me on the couch. It's a little stormy out, so I moved over closer to this big window for some good light. But I wanted to go over today's progress on the design. This is what I worked on earlier and finished up. This is the build a monster and build an encounter page or spread, 2 pages here. And these are 6d6 tables on each page. Try to get a closer view here for you. And they're kind of backwards. The build encounter page will be first. The build a monster page will be second. So a quick overview of what these do. I want encounters to be dynamic. I want the combat to be cinematic, high action, exciting. Not just, you're standing on one square swinging and the monster standing on the other square swinging back until one party dies. Like so much of the old school games could be in less experienced or less creative tables. So first off, you'll build your encounter. So you have the inhabitants table. So you'll roll to see if your encounter is with undead or humanoids or aberrations, beasts, demons, or dragons. And then there are pages with enemy types of each of those. So here's the undead page. And I think I mentioned in my other video, my first video, that monsters in Tomb Runners are not stat blocks. Since everything just scales off of a D6, much like West End Star Wars D6, it's more about their behavior, their tactics, their instincts than their stats. All the stats are just simple math, simple bell curve D6 math. So let's say on the inhabitants table you rolled undead. So you can stock it with zombies, and here I have description of zombies. They're mindless, they're weak, they're only killable by destroying the brain, they have an infectious bite. So they're the traditional shambling corpse. They come at you relentlessly. They have no intelligence, no tactics beyond just, relentless pursuit of whatever's in front of them. Or you have skeletons. They're animated warriors capable of using weapons and wielding or wearing armor as they did in life. They're weak to blunt forces and immune to slashes because they have no flesh. There's nothing you're cutting. But if you can, bash them real good, you'll probably break a bone or take them down. Then you have things like liches, and it mentions that they're powerful spellcasters, summoners. They're immortal unless you find and destroy their phylactery. So it gives a little bit of flavor to the monsters, and they're all pretty traditional. Everybody knows what a zombie, a skeleton, a spirit, a vampire is. But then there's just a couple sentences about how to flavor them for encounters. So that's a quick glance at one of the monster type pages. But going back to the encounter builder, that's the first table, the inhabitants. Then you have terrain, or let's go layout next. Layout is the next table. So are you fighting in a large hall or a narrow shaft or a multi-level space on a platform or a small room? That's some of the layout options. And you could choose these. You could go through and just pick which of these fit your tomb that you're building and your encounter you want to create for your players, or you can roll on them randomly and just use that as inspiration for your encounter. And then you have terrain, columns, stairs, a pit, a steep slope or a bridge in the space, hazards like traps or fire, crumbling terrain, ice, fog, darkness, an event like a twist that happens in the scene mid-fight. Maybe there's a dilemma the party has to face, like a gambit. They have to choose between 2 bad options, give them a trolley problem, maybe save an NPC or capture the bad guy that's trying to flee, that kind of idea. A powerful spell goes off. Maybe there's a caster in the scene. You could change the space. The monster flees to a new room, or the party has to back up to a new room that's a more advantageous space. Introduce a new monster. Maybe the troll bursts in and starts grabbing goblins and players alike, fighting everybody. features like levers, ropes, ladders, torches, locked doors, that kind of thing that players could interact with or use. So that's the build and encounter table page. So it's just a very simple 66 scene builder basically for encounters. But then you have the build a monster or make a monster page. And this one, you're going to take whatever type of inhabitant you rolled, like undead. Let's say we have a vampire. We rolled undead. We selected a vampire to put into this encounter. Now you're going to roll on the 6 tables on the make a monster page, and those are the type of monster, the goal they have, the reaction to the party appearing, their tactics in the fight or encounter, their asset, what makes them strong, what are they good at, and their weakness, what are they weak against. And obviously some of these have a natural answer for you, like vampires are obviously weak to light. That's just narratively, realistically logical. So you could just skip over things that you don't need, or you could roll on them or select another one to make it a twist on a traditional monster. Maybe this vampire is immune to light. Maybe light does not affect it. But some of the other options for like type, you have a small group of monsters. Maybe there's a small, enclave of vampires. You've come across their tomb and they have 4 or 5 coffins. Maybe there's a loner, a singular vampire, a spellcaster, a magic user that's going to make the encounter more dangerous because of their magical prowess. A horde, which fits things like skeletons, goblins. You have a huge group of whatever enemy type. A leader and their followers, army. The head vampire and some of their ghouls, that kind of idea. Or a boss fight. The big bad. This is the encounter for clearing this tomb. This is the boss fight. Their goals, you could have them. Their goals could be to capture victims, kidnap party members, destroy, just, outright kill, escape. Maybe they're trying to flee or hide, infect. Maybe they're trying to spread some contagion. Reaction, you have the party finds them unaware, or they ambush the party, or they flee as soon as they are made aware of the party, and it creates a chase scene, or they chase the party instead. They call for help, they call for backup, and that could be an interesting clock, a timer in the scene, or they just attack directly. They immediately go aggressive. Tactics, you have hit and run, they fight smart, guerrilla tactics. Stand and fight, they just, brutes, orcs and stuff like that, they'll just fight, straight on. Take cover, stall for time. Maybe they called for help and now they're stalling for time until that gets there, so they're avoiding direct conflict by hiding behind terrain, that kind of stuff. Focus fire, if there's a horde of enemies and they immediately identify the biggest threat in the party and go all out on that one target. Or they offer a bargain. A vampire could offer the gift of immortality instead of fighting, or make a deal for some other dark bargain. And then their assets and weaknesses, you have things like they're fast, they're speedy, they have a powerful weapon, they have high intelligence, so they fight really intelligently, really smartly, and use a lot of advanced tactics just like players would. Weakness, magic, light, fire, iron, just weapons. Morale, that's a fun one. Maybe when they see the party take down a couple of their allies, they flee at that point, and it turns into a chase. So they don't just fight to the death. Or they're cursed. That's a good one that fits with vampires, which we're kind of rolling with here. Vampires have a gift and a curse, and you could implement that into their weakness and the way the scene plays out. With light, maybe the players create a crack in the walls and sunlight comes through and beams and shafts of light in parts of the room, and then the players try to trick the vampire into stepping into the light, that kind of idea. That's how you could use a curse. So that's just what I wanted to show today, just like a more specific look at some of the design and pages and work. And I'll give you a little close up on the art here. I really love this like skeleton undead knight. It's kind of a mix of a ghoul and a death knight with full armor, big chain, ball, mace, weapon. It's really cool. I like this a lot. The frame of the frame within a frame layout is really cool. It adds a little depth to a simple character illustration. Really like that piece. I got that from an artist on Drive-Thru RPG, where I got a good bit of art for this project so far. I want to shout out to itch.io. Tons of great independent artists on there. Drive-Thru RPG. And then I've also found a couple of great artists through Blue Sky and Reddit. Those have been the 4 sources besides personal contacts that I've been commissioning for art. I've been finding a lot of great stuff on those various communities. So I want to shout out that. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining me again. I'll keep doing these little micro updates, though this is probably, 10 minutes now? Or we're at 11. I can't see quite. I can't quite make it out on the monitor. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Hope you like this idea. This is just 2 pages of tables that I'm making here. And tell me if you like this layout. So I made this like parchment paper category, almost like, town board flyers. I wanted them to be separated. Maybe the font's a little big now looking at it in print and not on the screen. The font might be one size too large. I'll probably drop that down. But then again, maybe it's nice to have it large font, super readable, in a smaller page format for a book. Yep, that's it. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.